And this is Deadpool Negative. I'm here with another review. This time it is of Aliens. What If? Number two. This was again purchased at Comic Universe in Folsom, Pennsylvania, off MacDade Boulevard. Once again, this is interesting. Last issue. Now the credits read concept by Paul and Leon Reiser, Adam F. Goldberg, Hans Rodionoff, and Brian Volk-Weiss. Last issue it said the issue was written by Rodionoff and Goldberg. And now, no surprise, this issue is actually co-written by Rodionoff and Leon Reiser. So it looks like the Reisers aren't just contributing just to the concept of the series. Last time I talked about this comic book, I theorized that this was actually a pitch that the Reiser and the Reisers and the writers actually sent to Fox about possibly bringing an actual in continuity pitch, because the first issue fits pretty seamlessly with Alien 3. And this nothing in this disabuses me of that notion, but the more I read of it, the more I'm thinking, well, this would actually make a pretty entertaining Aliens project, at least a different one. I mean, I've seen this. I'm Fede Alvarez is a good director. There are some good actors in Alien and Romulus, but it kind of just looks like the same thing. And another problem, which is a common problem with the Aliens franchise. But one of the things I like about this comic in particular is that a lot of these Alien stories from Dark Horse and now Marvel, although Marvel is trying to do, like, I especially Philip Kennedy Johnson's run, like he introduced the ideas of why isn't anyone actually trying to take Weyland-Yutani down if they're so evil, and he also introduced the concept of like what if about synths that are autonomous. I mean, not that hadn't been done before, but I think Johnson actually really took it in a direction that Dark Horse didn't. And while Shelby wasn't perfect, I thought, but Shelby had a good points too, but also kind of fell into the trap of, like, you know, which is with a common Dark Horse trap of here's a bunch of innocents that get crushed or eaten by the xenomorphs and or Weyland-Yutani. Here we're dealing with a protagonist who is kind of a weird scumbag. Um, Although this issue does an interesting job of trying to redeem the character with not quite. Now, last issue, a synth showed up at Carter Burke's doorstep with a xenomorph egg. And in this issue, we find out this is a synth that has been searching for 35 years for a xenomorph egg. A synth Carter Burke rebuilt and kept under his complete control. And it has under his complete control. And there's a really hilarious bit where he says, the Synth named Cygnus, "Are you replicant or replicant?" Which is a ripoff of a good joke from Once Upon a Time in Mexico, but it's still funny. It's still funny here. And so we jump ahead, but we jump back to the present day, and we also find out part of the reason, like, Burke has motivations that are somewhat altruistic. We find out that his wife, which was a kind of a question mark in the previous issue, is not dead, but also not it seems the wedge that went between Bree and Carter was that his wife has some medical condition that put her in a coma, or in cold storage, I should say, early into Bree's life. And so, like, Carter wants to use the egg, again, what they always want to do is harvest the egg for its property, harvest the egg and the xenomorph for their properties. But he just, unlike before, he doesn't want to use it as a weapon, like, they always, well, like Weyland-Yutani always does. Though I mean that kind of worked in the first couple Mark Verheiden series, but like eventually Weyland-Yutani would probably be like, no, this thing's not usable. Anyway, but he clearly does not want to use the xenomorphs as a weapon. He wants to use it for medical purposes. But of course, he and also I should note that like given in the 35 years since the event of Hadley Hope, going near any xenomorph egg is illegal. But they shoved Carter Burke in the ass end of nowhere. He can't. No one's really paying attention to him. So basically, he wants to use the medical properties to cure my wife, cure everyone. On the one hand, yeah, and as the synth said, that's a surprisingly noble idea. But on the other hand, it's like the Burke we see in Aliens is as a weasel who's out for who's out for himself. Yes, bringing his wife back will be part of it, but also he'd be a hero. He'd be the hero that instead of the villain, the rest of the world sees him as for all these years. He was a great. He's like I noticed, like not that last issue didn't have some decent lines of dialogue, but this issue, they lean a little bit more into the comedy. And scenes that might have been played obnoxious on screen, but play pretty chuckle-worthy on the page. I love the beat where like Cygnus says Carter Burke's intentions are noble, and is like, yeah, I'm surprisingly noble. Now let's figure out what unsuspecting schmuck in the office we're going to impregnate. And it's interesting, and there's a really funny bit where he keeps trying to figure out, like, he wants to take one of his employees and trick them into getting impregnated so they can experiment with them. I just can't go and latch a slimy spider crab thing on one of their faces. That's not a nice thing to do. And he keeps talking to the people, and he can't do it. But I like the implication in Rodionoff and Reiser in Leon's script isn't so much that Carter is a noble person as that he's so cowardly and so weaselly. He doesn't have the killer instinct to actually take an innocent person and take an innocent person and put in their fate. It's really it's quite amusing. I was kind of impressed by how amusing I found it to be. And Guiu Vilanova, who's, an artist, like, he's not super remarkable, but this is the first comic I've read for him where he's got to do just conversations and facial expressions. And well, his character, like, the way he had, like, it helps that he's, I don't know if Cygnus is meant to be any other actor, but, like, the way, the interactions between Burke and Cygnus, the facial expressions are terrific. And it really surprised, it's just fascinating because Burke, he's doing a good thing, but only inadvertently. An opportunity presents itself at the end of the issue where he doesn't have to do anything to any of his employees. But it's really amusing, and I was just kind of really impressed with how, for a guy this is, as far as I know, Leon Reiser's first writing credit. And, it felt, I mean, not that Hans Rodionoff is not involved in funny comics. He wrote Damage Control after all. But I just was like, the humor in this was amped up from the last issue. And the ending is just really, honestly, I mean, if you haven't read any Aliens books in a while, I highly recommend this. It is a fun book. And I think it's kind of flown on the radar because, like, Marvel doesn't really do that good a job of, in my opinion, of promoting their. I mean, again, their Aliens comics have been, I think, pretty good. There's Predator comics have been surprisingly, kind of almost depressingly disappointing, considering the level of talent they've got on them. But I would definitely read Aliens What If, and ask yourself, what if they made this canon? Because I think it feels like it's out of the norm. Like, it's the artist is doing something different, like is out of his comfort zone and doing more of a comic comedy routine in this issue, and it's not perfect, but it's different, and I really appreciated that. Anyway, if you like these reviews, hit the bell, like and subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and I'll be back with more reviews. Thank you.